Hello and welcome to the Wearing Hats Saying Things podcast, the podcast where I'm already running out of intros to say and supposedly getting more lazy. This is another Hats Indoors with your host, Connor Coulthorpe. As always, how have we been? Hope you're continuing to stay healthy and safe. There are promising signs that this virus is starting to shift, with the constant grit and hard work being shown by essential workers up and down the country, as well as all of you staying at home and abiding by the rules. It's a long way to go, but slowly and steadily we are getting there, and that is always good news. The sun is out again, which is even better news. What could go wrong? This week I'm going to be talking about mental health, and again, like the episode I did on weight, I think this topic means something different to a lot of people and on a lot of different levels. Some more serious than others. Some may not have had as many problems as others with their mental health, but at the end of the day, we're not robots and everyone has emotions. So can probably relate in some way, shape or form the effects that mental health can bring, which might be feeling sad, might be feeling anxious, so like anxiety or depression, angry, even happy, I guess. But some of the time it's influenced by certain events. Sometimes it's unexplainable what causes it. It's just a bit random. But right now, with everything going on, it can have a treacherous impact on those who suffer with their mental health. So I'm going to be covering ways that you can help yourself at home, and I guess in general maybe. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I like to think hopefully what I'm going to say will be of some help, and the ways perhaps not to help yourself as well I'll be covering, as well as sharing some of my own experiences with mental health as someone who, as I've said in my second video, someone who suffers with ADHD, and why this pandemic can have such an effect on people like myself. All this to come, but not so fast. What hat have I got today? My hat today is a St. Patrick's Day hat, or Paddy's Day hat, because I was going to use this for a podcast around, if we filmed around St. Patrick's Day, but unfortunately we were unable to. I think Ronan actually wasn't even in the country, so I don't know why I was thinking we could do this, but anyway, I wanted to wear it at some point, and it was the first hat I found when I was looking, to be quite honest, and it's just been sitting there for ages, a bit neglected, so I thought, I'll make it feel special and I'll wear it on my head while I do this podcast. So it's you can see it probably on the title screen. It's got green on it. It's like a leprechaun's hat, I guess. A proper Irish. I don't know. I don't think Irish people wear these hats particularly, but it's a cool little hat to wear on St. Patrick's Day. I wouldn't wear it another day or any other time apart from then, but I'll keep it. I'm definitely going to keep this for a long time because it will come in handy every single year. It's like your Christmas hat. You don't wear it until Christmas, but this I've got every year for St. Patrick's Day. So that is my hat for today. Obviously you can see it right now on the title page. Let us know what you think. It's a fun one. But going back on to mental health. When I think of mental health, the first words that pop into my head are the obvious ones like depression or anxiety. I'm sure that's the same with probably a lot of people, as they are the two most commonly associated mental health disorders. And I've got a few little things that I've found, sources that I've found from the mentalhealth.org website. Just a couple of facts, sort of what are the most common mental health disorders are. And it says mixed anxiety and depression is the most common mental disorder in Britain, with 7.8% of people meeting criteria for diagnosis. 47% of people in England will experience depression in their lifetime. Common mental health problems such as depression and anxiety are distributed according to a gradient of economic disadvantage across society. The poorer and more disadvantaged are disproportionately affected by common mental health problems and their adverse consequences. And I hate to sort of agree with that. I'm sort of someone who doesn't believe that money brings you happiness and all that rubbish, but it does make life easier, I guess, when you have money there. You don't have to think about any money or anything like that. You don't have any financial problems. It's just easy in that way and in that respect. So I can kind of understand that, because it can bring stress to a lot of people. Mixed anxiety and depression as well has been estimated to cause 1/5 of days lost from work in Britain. And I'm actually not surprised at that, really, because mental health is taken a lot more seriously than it used to be. Years ago, it probably would have been looked at, I don't know, not in the same light as it is now. There's a lot more light being shed on mental health problems and things like depression and anxiety, which is great, obviously, and there's a lot more help for it. So really, the probability is that someone in your close friend group will probably struggle with their mental health from those statistics, which is why I think it's so important to speak out, and why it's very okay to talk to each other and ask how each other is, because it's easy to feel a bit alone sometimes, especially during this pandemic. But for me, it's my ADHD. I don't have any sort of depression or anxiety, really. Obviously, everyone might feel a bit low on one day, or they might feel a little bit anxious. But yeah, for me, it's just my ADHD. And I've already obviously done an episode on this about my ADHD, which you can check out. It's episode 2 of Hats Indoors. If you haven't already, do go and have a look at it. But something I didn't really cover too much was the impact it has on my day-to-day life, sort of on my mental health, and also how it's affecting me during this pandemic. I realised I hadn't talked about this when I got messages of various people after making that episode, and one of them was from someone who suffers from ADHD, who said to me that it's always a bit push and pull, like actually having ADHD, because you want to be normal when you feel insecure, but then you get upset when you don't, because you won't be the same person if you're like everyone else. And I thought this was so true and so accurate, because it's literally like a love-hate relationship. And I think this pandemic has properly made me realise that, because the main problem I just can't sit still. Like, I can't just sit in the house and watch TV all day, or sort of lounge around, like, unless I'm like ill or something, which I was sort of a bit over a month ago. I can do it then, because obviously you need to rest, but I can't just sit there and do nothing. I have to be on the go. I have to be doing something just to occupy my mind, or I just go insane. And I have probably end up being as well like a pain in the arse to my family or more myself, because it's hard to entertain yourself sometimes when you're doing the same things every day. And that's why it's so good to keep productive and have that sense of achievement about yourself, to give that bigger release of serotonin. But I'll talk about that in a minute, because I think sometimes it's so easy to compare yourself to others, and really there are no rules or boundaries for how productive is productive. What is the boundaries for that? But nobody should be able to influence your goals or targets, though, on what you do with your day-to-day life. It's completely up to you. It's your decision. As the girls say, you do you, honey. But I also, I spoke to my younger sister, because I wanted to get a little bit more, I don't know, I just wanted to ask other people, what do they do to help themselves, or if they're on a bad patch or whatever. And something that she actually said was turning off notifications on social media really helps. Now, I already do this for Instagram. Like, I've done it for a long time. I don't have notifications on there, and partly because of this reason, that there's so much self-comparison that if you're on there too much or for too long, you can feel like you're focusing too much on what other people are doing, and like you're putting more energy into that, which can be a lot of negative energy than just focusing on yourself. And it's basically a distraction above all else. But limiting time on there as well is also very good, and especially at the moment, because obviously we're living in a pandemic and there's a lot of extra noise about it on there, and it can be not very helpful for people who do suffer with mental disorders, especially if they're finding it hard enough to be productive and things like that. It can be quite difficult. Another thing is exercise. And obviously, this is a really helpful thing, especially for me. Like, I've been exercising a lot because obviously I've had the time to do it. I mean, I do make the time anyway to do it, but I've been making a conscious effort to, because I really enjoy doing it. It's something that really helps, makes me feel a lot better about myself when I'm doing exercise. I think that's obviously the same for a lot of people. But something my sister actually said to me was that although exercise is really good and that she thinks it's a really good thing, that social media can sort of perpetuate this pressure. So like, for example, how to be productive in quarantine. Like, so there'll be, I don't know, videos and things on it and people saying, like how you should do this and how you should do that. And like, it almost tells you what you should be doing with your day. And then people think, oh, what? Like, I'm not doing that. That must mean I'm not doing enough. And you get down about it. And again, that's self-worth. But you just, it's important not to compare to what you think other people are doing every day in this time. Because essentially, social media is a highlights reel. It's just the best bits. Like, you very rarely do you see people posting on there. You do occasionally, and sometimes it's really good when people speak about, stuff that's personal to them because it's them speaking out and it's a voice, and that's really good. But usually it's just a highlights reel. It's the best bits. And you shouldn't think that it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all of your day just because you've seen someone else who's done, I don't know, their own home workout and they're doing all this and that. That might be the only thing they've done with their day. So, of course they're going to post about it because, it's something good. It's the highlight of their day. And I'm not saying like, like to anyone who is posting, like you shouldn't do that. Like, it's great that you are. It's great that you're keeping active. Keep doing it. But it's more just, you shouldn't be comparing yourself, I guess, with that person if you're not doing it. Just do your own thing. So those people who you think are doing way more than you are probably not. It's just that they might just be posting about it, and whereas you might not be posting. It just goes like that. And I'm going to tell you about as well a couple of things that I personally think massively help, or the things I do. I think a lot of people will be in agreement with that's the right word. Agreement with me here is just getting out of the house, even if it's for a walk or around the block or to the shops or around your local park, anything like that. If you're like me and don't like sitting around all day, then getting out of the house does you the world of good. Like, it just does, and especially like when, as I was saying, like the weather's so nice at the moment, it's great to just get out and exercise. So that's another thing, exercise obviously as well, any kind. Like for me, I've been going for a run, I've been cycling, like obviously if you have access to a bike, and just shove your headphones in, put on some music, and psychologically, I couldn't speak then, psychologically, to feel, it helps a lot to feel like you've done more with your day when you've left the house. And the last thing I think probably is just to talk to people, because you never know what sort of impact asking a mate or anyone how they are can help someone who's feeling low. Just letting someone know you are there and you care can massively help. And I'm going to tell you a story which I think sums that up on a pretty good level, or pretty strong level anyway. So when I was about 17 and a half, something like that. Yeah. Something like 17 and a half, maybe just older than that. But I was, still 17. And I was talking to someone I'd never met before, and I had their number. Go on, Con, you're in there, son. Nah, it was nothing like that. It was just really, general chit chat of that age. I don't know, we've all been that age once. You just end up speaking to random people sometimes. And we've been speaking maybe for a couple of weeks on and off or something. So I didn't know them that well. And I remember they'd been really off and on, very mixed signals. Like, I was sort of thinking, I'll either be your mate or not. But it was just very strange. And even though I didn't know them that well, it seemed very out of character and very odd how they were acting. And then one day, about 2 weeks of knowing them, obviously never meeting this person, they sort of, like, I don't know how to explain, like, gave me the middle finger is probably a good way of saying it, just sort of wanted to be left alone, not spoken to. Even though I had no idea what was wrong, whether I'd done something wrong or what it was. I was a 17-year-old, very naive boy at that age. I had no idea. And then at about 1 a.m. or so, I was in bed, about to go to sleep. Obviously, it's quite late. I might have even had school or something the next day. I get a phone call, and it's them. And I thought, do I answer? Like, do I bother? You know, this person is sort of giving me the middle finger, like, do I want to bother? And at first, I didn't, because I wanted to go to sleep. Like, I thought, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. But then they called again. So at this point, I thought, I can't not answer. Like, I've got to pick up. I always have a guilty conscience with that sort of thing. So I picked up, and I said, I said hello, in like a very sleepy voice. It was more like a hello. And I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But in a very sleepy voice, and they were absolutely sobbing down the phone, like in tears, and it just sounded a bit broken. Like, and obviously, I didn't really know what to do. Like, the natural thing was just to reassure them. I remember one of the things they were saying was, like, nobody likes me, I have no friends, and the one that sort of stuck with me was like, nobody cares about me. And like I kept trying to say, oh no, people do, your friends do care about you, and it was like, no, they don't. And I just kept telling him that well, I care. I said, I hardly know you, but I care, and that's got to mean something. Your family care. There are people that will care. And the reaction was, how do you know? Which I guess was kind of a true reaction, because like, how did I know? Again, highlighting the fact I didn't actually know them that well, but I wanted to make them feel better in any way I could, because they just seemed so upset and so down, and as I said, so broken. Like, one bit of advice I gave and practically begged was to speak to someone close to them, like their mum, their dad, their family member, about how they were feeling, and just let it out. Because and I think I asked, like, have you told anyone about how you're feeling? They said no. I said, you've got to tell them, like, because it's the only way you can help yourself, really. Or maybe not the only way, but like, it's a way of helping yourself. And I said to them, I'd stay on the phone for as long as they want, until they finally said they'd go to sleep. Then almost a little selfishly thought, like, I'm glad that's over, I can go to sleep now, not having any idea of the sincerity of how they were actually feeling. And then the next day, I didn't hear anything from them all day, and it was about probably like a week later or something, they messaged. I'll never forget sort of what they said, or what they roughly said. I think I was playing FIFA, as you do, and got a text. I paused my game to read it, and they said, I'm sorry about the other night, but thank you so much for talking to me. And then this next bit I just couldn't believe. They said, I was going to commit suicide before you spoke to me. And I was just like, what? Like, I remember as I read the message, like, I put my hand like behind my head and was like, jeez. Like, this person was thinking of taking their own life. And 17-year-old me was just like, what? Like, what have I prevented that? Like, a lot of different things went through my head, I think. And I like to think nothing would have happened had I not answered the phone. Obviously, you just never know. But I felt good in a way, knowing that I'd had this, I don't want to say like life-changing influence, because it probably wasn't, but like an influence on someone's life. And the great thing was that they told me they actually did talk to their mum about how they felt and got help and support. And I just almost felt relieved. Like, obviously I had no idea before, but knowing that they had, gone and done that, I felt like I'd done a really good thing. And after that, actually, after a while, I think we stopped speaking. But from what I could see, they just seemed happier kind of over the years. And I met them once briefly, actually, in the end. But, we never obviously spoke about it. But, from that story, I don't want to look like I'm trying to paint myself in glory or anything. And obviously at the time, I had no idea what impact I was actually having. The real message, though, from that, I'd say, is just how important talking to someone or opening up can be if you're feeling alone, down, worried, whatever it is. Even if it's someone you don't know that well, they'll still give you the time of day that might make all the difference. Like, obviously, don't go around messaging random people for the sake of it, but you get the idea. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave a load of contact numbers as well in the description below if you're on YouTube. These are a list of mental health helplines that you can contact if you ever need support or someone to talk to. These include ones like Anxiety UK, The Calm, which is campaign against living miserably, Mind, who help people with mental health problems, and obviously the mentalhealth.org website, just to name a few there for you, but I'll put more in the description. Hopefully this podcast has been interesting to listen to, and hopefully I haven't sounded too much like an agony aunt or a preacher at any time. I don't know, I've tried not to, but it probably did sound like I've preached a little bit at times, so, sorry about that. But let us know what you think in the comments if you're on YouTube, or any feedback at all. It's just really appreciated. If it's positive or constructive, it's all welcomed. Ronan and I are currently working on bringing you lot content of us both together, but while recording from where we're both isolating, so because obviously we can't break the isolation, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll be back soon for another Hats Indoors. Hats off to you guys, and have a good one. See you later.